excited.
So excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
I never really thought of this before today, but we have that really cool-looking show intro, which features video of Joaquin Gage standing boldly in his crease, making several glorious saves, video of Matt Cassian beating up challengers who thought they could test his might in the National Hockey League. Dustin Nielsen, who usually is in this chair, Reed Wilkins in for Dustin today, there's no video of Dustin tenderly eating a chicken wing or pulling chicken tenders out of the oven or, nicely in his suit on a TSN broadcast. Maybe we can't get that footage. I think that intro needs to be updated to include some Dustin Nielsen highlights.
I think you got something there, Reed. You need something like that. I think it would be good if maybe what I'll do is next time I'm at the game in Commonwealth, I'll say, Dusty, when do you get in here? And I'll record him in slow-mo walking in.
Yeah.
And that would be good. And go into the press area. What do you think, Cass? He's frozen. Well,
if they're sure he thinks it's a good idea.
Sometimes he just stays like that. He's so stoic.
He's so stoic. That's right. Oh, my goodness. Well, anyway, happy lunch hour. Two Guys and a Goalie. He's Joaquin Gage. We got Matt Cassian as well. I'm Reed Wilkins in for Dustin, who has the call tonight of the Montreal-Calgary game, which is a pretty good showdown in the Canadian Football League. Two Guys and a Goalie presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become part of the team. Visit gsconstruction.ca, click Ready to Work, or visit their page at Indeed.ca. With the Next Person Up program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it's a career. We have a lot to cover today. I've seen already in the chat, are you guys going to talk about Carter Hart, or are you going to talk about the World Junior stuff? We will talk about that. We'll do that a little bit later on. Obviously, that's it's not a pleasant topic to talk about.
It's touchy,
but I think we will give some perspective on that and get the guys' takes on what it could possibly like to bring a player who's been through a trial into a dressing room, things like that. I want to talk about, and the jumping off point for me for this will be the sport of football, and people have probably seen that Cody Fajardo is on the depth chart for the Elks tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, in Saskatchewan against the Rough Riders. Despite the secrecy, or I guess the lack of commitment to that when Mark Killam did interviews earlier this week, and just some of the paranoia I've seen in football. I want to see what that's like with coaches in hockey. But I think we'll start about the one topic today that has a lot of people talking who even aren't probably wrestling fans. Like we were saying earlier this week how Jay and I were talking on our show. A lot of people know Ozzy Osbourne was someone famous.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't listen to his music or him particularly. And I think Hulk Hogan, a lot of people who maybe have never watched a wrestling match would know, oh yeah, this guy was a famous wrestler. Cass, I'll start with you. Like, you and I have never talked about this. Were you a WWF/WWE guy, Hulk Hogan fan, or is that foreign ground to you?
Not totally foreign. I was a fan when I was a kid. We thought it was real. My dad convinced us it was real. Got to see a Yokozuna and Undertaker casket match when I was growing up.
Wow.
Which was pretty incredible to see. So remember that. Owen Hart was also at that event. Was pretty cool to see as a kid that still thought it was real at that time, and the drama was real. Loved Razor Ramon. Loved the video games when I was a kid, like on Nintendo, and just being able to pick people up by the throat and slam them. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I don't bleed wrestling, don't still follow it. I don't know who's who now anymore, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the athleticism it takes. And yeah, I mean, who didn't know, even as a kid, who Hulk Hogan was? And certainly my dad, I mean, he would beat the snot out of us. I come from a family with just brothers. So there's 3 boys. And so it was when dad comes home, it's time to fight, right? And it's time to wrestle. And so he would always take on a wrestling persona, and he had a couple of them. And he would do different things and beat the snot out of us in different ways, depending on, how dad came downstairs dressed after work. He had one where he'd put on like a pair of running spandex and a sheepskin hat, and he'd call himself the Dalai Lama and just kick the snot out of us. He'd go the Hulk Hogan route sometimes. So it's not like I grew up idolizing Hulk Hogan as an individual, but always just kind of loved it, loved wrestling. I mean, it was such a masculine thing, or it felt like such a masculine thing as a very active boy. So yeah, and he's a cultural icon. Kind of like Ozzy on the music side, except on the athletic, sports, and entertainment side. He's a huge icon. So, all the best to the Hogan family with the passing of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, no, it just you sparked a memory in me. My dad used to, his favorite wrestler, because we'd watch on Fridays. I would play hockey on Friday nights usually, and then we'd go home and watch wrestling. And my dad would always, his favorite wrestler was Jake the Snake Roberts. So if I started messing around, he would DDT me. And it was some of the best times ever doing all that stuff. But yeah, I was weird because I just saw Hulk Hogan talking about a few things, and maybe it was just the McMahon story and stuff, but he was huge, just massive. I got, like you, Cass, I got a chance to see him live when I played junior in Portland, and that's when Ric Flair was coming over. So it was the 2 champions for the real belt, right? And so the Nature Boy and Hulk Hogan wrestling, it was just, it's a different crowd at the arenas for wrestling, Reed. I don't know if you've ever been to one, but it was quite the eye opener of the clientele that wrestling brings out. It's phenomenal to be in there, because I was probably 3 rows away from the ring itself, right? And so, but we always loved it in Portland, and I think I said this before, but because our practice rink was not at the Rose Garden or whatever, and we would come back and drive back half our gear, and they'd have the ring set up, so we'd all jump in there and have the battle royal, and we're just little punks. It's amazing how to move those ropes and to make them bend. There have to be some heft behind you, and the top rope is a lot higher than you think.
Right. Well, my relationship with wrestling is, I mean, it's impossible not to know about it. I actually followed it, I want to say grade 11 and 12.
Oh, yeah.
So, because one night I went to watch Saturday Night Live, and it was just the Saturday night main event was on instead. So I was like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. And then I would rent the pay-per-views would come out on VHS a couple weeks after. And so when I was following it, it was when the Ultimate Warrior was big, and Hogan was obviously still big, and then they fought, and it was in Toronto at Skydome, so that was huge, and they were both good guys. But then I kind of lost interest in it. But I've always kind of had a friend or someone in my life that knows about it, and it could fill me in well enough that if I could fake a conversation or knowledge if I ran into somebody else. When I was at Ched, both Dave Campbell and Kellen Kennedy were big wrestling. Kellen went to WrestleMania a couple times and came back with these great stories of seeing bouts. So I've kind of always known about it, though I don't really watch it. But Hogan, and some people have put it in the nasty chat. By the way, you can also text 780-218-9999. I post in the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up there as well. That Hogan took it maybe a little more to the mainstream. Like, I guess if we think of the NBA, it's always like, well, thank God Bird and Magic came along, because who knows if the league was going to make it. And I don't think professional wrestling was going to go away, but I think Hogan is one of those guys. He brought people in with the whole persona, the All-American type of thing, and then just how it seems in every match he was a millimeter from defeat, and then somehow found the energy because he believed in himself and his fans so much, and they believed in him that he would come back to win. For me, it's not something I follow, but you mentioned, Gager, when you're in there and you're on the top rope, as much as we know it's scripted, I mean, and yes, we can talk, perhaps there were substances, some or many of these wrestlers used along the way, but there was athleticism and pain involved, even if they weren't actually fighting each other.
I think the dark side of the ring, there was a series of going into all these old wrestlers and old times. They're great stories, but yeah, the injuries that everyone would go through. I mean, Hogan talked about it lots, but I mean, you talk about, Reed, the how he made it mainstream, and I'm trying to think. I want to say that it was probably Andre the Giant and the Princess Bride was the first kind of crossover from wrestling to movies, right? And what a great movie to come into. That was one of the best. But I mean, Thunder Lips, Rocky III, right? That was a huge thing. And what was the other one? Something Down Under, or Hogan did a bunch of like kind of crappy movies, but if you liked him, you'd go watch them. Yeah, I'm sure lots of people went to go watch or rent them at that point. Sure. Probably made up in sales for on the renting side of things. But I mean, he paved the way for, I think, a lot of these guys, Cena, The Rock, they could see that, okay, I can parlay this wrestling gig that I have into something in the future. So yeah, he's, like you said, Cass, he's definitely an icon.
Like, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. I mean, it's as thorough as anything else you're going to see, including, some stuff he was associated with that obviously wouldn't put him in a very good light along the way. But from a pure wrestling standpoint, he's one of the biggest things. Maybe from a pure entertainment standpoint, he'd be a bigger name. What was the movie he was in? Thunder in Paradise. That's the one. I can see the cover box on the shelf at Blockbuster. And Thunder Lips was who he played.
Thunder Lips
in Rocky III. So Hulk Hogan passing away and being and like didn't he keep leaving WWE and coming back too? I guess like he had clout, right? That these organizations wanted him even well into his 50s and 60s.
I mean, he brought people in, and then when the whole arc of leaving. And I think it's in that McMahon series where he's contract negotiations and all these things. And, you heard of people trying to unionize wrestling and all this. And that was a point of contention with Hulk Hogan, and then couldn't get a deal done. So he jumped ship. And, well, what do you think about turning and becoming the heel? And that was it. I think that was broadcast on every news outlet that Hogan was bad all of a sudden and mascaraing his beard. It was like everyone knew that Hulk Hogan's bad. What do you mean he's bad? And so, I mean, again, just huge, just a huge personality it's sad. It's really sad.
Did you, Cass? I'll start with maybe the answer is no. But did either of you guys have teammates that were really into wrestling? Where you'd hear holy crap, you're talking about it again.
There's a couple guys in every room. Couple guys in every room. And even if they would deny it, there's a couple guys in every room that were watching it. There's, you know what? And just because I never was a massive fan, there was a bunch of guys, happened both in Ottawa and Minnesota. Like when the WWE is coming through, it's like they were going. Like if we were home, they were there. I know Bobby Ryan it's like he was like a front row guy. And I don't think he followed it that much, but he's like, I'm going to go watch. Like, this is awesome. And I never did. And part of me is a little disappointed in myself. I kind of feel like I probably should have, because we would have had the opportunity to have a little bit more clout in those cities and maybe get a little bit closer to the stage. And it's just such an athletic performance that's put on that it kind of would have been cool too. But they're absolutely, there's guys. And there's some that I kind of feel like wrestling is one of those things. There's some people that aren't embarrassed. Like they'll tell you they're wrestling fans, Like, and they'll just tell everybody, like, they're proud of it. But there's a lot of closet wrestling fans. Like, you can't tell me it's as popular as it is, and people just kind of deny, or they never really talk about it. But they're watching every single time. Like, the things like hitting whatever top 10 on Netflix now, that they're putting them out on Netflix all the time, and people are just still watching them. There was a lot of guys that watched it, and lots of guys that still do.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this about me, Reed, but I used to work in the cable industry, and I was shocked back in the day because they came out with a channel, an actual WWE channel, and I'm like, who is watching this stuff? And it seemed everyone was like, they were paying extra to have the 24/7 new, like they had news and upcoming events and all the pay-per-views and stuff. It was so it was always popular, even when you think it's not popular. There's those people that keep it under wraps that they're wrestling fans, maybe. But I mean, I kind of petered out after the Attitude Era, I guess. Once that was done, I was kind of out. But it's basically a live action soap opera, right? That's what you're watching.
Soap opera for men.
Yeah.
In some ways. I'm going to read this text from Taco, and I don't think we're going to go too much down. Well, we probably won't go down this path with Hulk Hogan, but I'll acknowledge that this is out there. Taco says, before we get all lovey-dovey, let's not forget that Hogan was caught on film being racist, using the N-word, and subsequently fired from the WWE. He also recently posed for pictures in front of detainees in a cage at an ICE facility. Pretty despicable behavior. I prefer that my legends not be pieces of garbage. That's from Taco. We're not telling anybody how to feel about him. We know that when I reference that off the top from his Wikipedia page, he's got a history.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. We're not telling you to love him. I think we are saying, from an entertainment standpoint, especially in his peak in the 80s and 90s,
I liked him.
He was pretty big. We're not making a moral judgment on him or anybody who might have liked him as a wrestler. But Taco, fair enough. We appreciate you texting that in. 780-218-9999. Okay, let's shift gears to sports that aren't scripted. I mentioned the Fajardo news off the top of the show. That's pretty big in this market right now, as the Elks desperately need a win. We'll see if a quarterback change can do it. So, early in the week, Fajardo and Ford are splitting reps, and we've talked about it a lot all week, and we all kind of believed. And I mean, obviously, Jason Milne has a pretty good sense of what is happening in a football practice and what it means. And then he went yesterday, and Fajardo was running the offense. Yeah. Well, we're not naming a starting quarterback. It's just nice. We're just giving Cody a chance because he hasn't practiced with the number ones all week. So we kind of knew where it was heading. And I've talked a lot about that. My experience is football coaches, football coaching staffs are the most paranoid of any sports. Now, to be fair, I haven't covered European soccer or anything like that, but from the sports I've covered, I've referenced this. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but even when I was covering football in Lloydminster, one year Lloyd Comp was playing Wainwright in the Wheatland Football League final, and the coach of the Wainwright team did not want us coming to do a story on the team. He just somehow thought, well, they must be spies from Lloyd. If they're obviously cheering for the Barons, and it's no, we're just coming to profile your team, to pick a player. I don't know. So the principal of the school had to get involved and be it's okay, for you guys to come. So I guess from your perspectives of being in hockey dressing rooms and dealing with a lot of hockey coaches over the years, was there actually, hey guys, I want to close the practice, or if you see anybody suspicious watching our I don't sense it as much in hockey.
I think it has to do something with the amount of games that you actually do play, right? There's just, and practices, football's different. It starts from a static position. I guess if the only time you're really getting a read on things is maybe the power play. But then again, you've got so much video now. There's nothing really to hide with hockey. There's no gimmick plays in hockey, really. Right. So if you're trying to get a peek behind the curtain, I did there was only one coach I can remember that kind of talked to me about. Maybe there was a couple. I forget the other guy's name, but Walt Kyle was coaching in Hamilton, and it was the year I was with Team Canada for the year, but I went to Hamilton for playoffs, and he told me if the media talked to me, to say that Mike Menard was going to play, and he goes, "But you're playing." I go, "Okay," and so I had to go along with this, and even to the point where go into the second net, don't go into the first net, right. Go into the. So there's all this, but then warm up starts, and they go, oh, okay, well, looks like Gage is playing, right? So it wasn't whatever. I guess some coaches feel like they have to do that type of thing. He was a little bit paranoid. The only other time coaches really start getting flustered is when the losses are becoming a bigger number than the win column, and that's when they sometimes, depending on the coach, kind of loses it a little bit.
Yo, is Cass frozen again?
I think he's frozen again.
Okay, we might. Where's
Enzo? Yeah. Enzo.
We got a frozen guy.
We got a frozen guy.
We got Iceman. We got Iceman. Yeah, it's. And I mean, there's probably more stories in sports than we could imagine. Perhaps even you having played, maybe that we know about.
Yeah.
About trying to get information. I mean, hockey, especially in this country. I mean, there are dozens of reporters, media at the morning skate.
Yeah.
You're allowed to film it. Everybody tweets out, like now with Twitter, everybody tweets out or talks about the line combinations. And if the other coach went and sat and watched your morning skate, I don't think anybody would be mad. And I know from seeing, like, sometimes the Oilers will be skating, and I'm not saying I've seen it a lot, but, you know, the Oilers are starting practice where there's not a drill, and the other team's already there getting changed. And you'll see a visiting player come to his bench, shake hands. Oh, yeah, we played together. How are you doing? I mean, it's totally different. Like maybe in the playoffs, they talk a little less, so I'm not going to tip the hand and give anything. But everything is pretty much out there in hockey. Like certain things might be frowned upon, Cass, but it just doesn't seem to be hockey to be that same level of paranoia. Though I don't know if you had a coach or an assistant coach along the way who maybe was like, okay, guys, we got to lock it down.
Well, hockey's paranoid about the injuries. Like that's where hockey's paranoid. Like, not about who's playing, who's in and out of the lineup nearly as much. Although there's sometimes some of that in the playoffs. It's about the injuries, and I understand it because football is more of a chess match, as you guys know. Like, it's from a set spot with the plays, with the offense, and one player being in the offense dramatically changes what they're doing, or may, Trey Ford being in as opposed to Fajardo. Like, they're different looks. And so how teams are going to prepare, what the offense or defense they're putting into practice. Like, so I understand where there's a little bit more paranoia. Hockey, it wasn't bad. It was more just around injuries, and it will continue to be. It's like you're not allowed to talk about injuries, not allowed to say what they actually are to the press, to the media, to anybody. You're not supposed to tell your buddies on other teams what the actual injury is. It's like, you don't say anything. Can't say anything about any kind of injury. And they get paranoid about it. I don't necessarily know why, although for some things, maybe, I guess, but yeah, it's a different sport because of it. Because it's like, if Matt Cassidy plays on the third line instead of the fourth line, it doesn't change that much of your game plan. Like, you're not changing your entire defense and defensive system because of it. Where in football, I feel like the play scheme you're going to run and the way you're going to blitz and the packages you put together are going to change dramatically. So I understand why it's different in football and hockey.
Yeah, and especially with football, if someone comes out, a DB, a rookie comes in, you'll see a veteran quarterback start targeting that side, right? And see if there's a weakness there. From the media standpoint, to get there, doesn't Ryan Rishaug use his little opera binoculars to look at water bottle numbers to see who's out? Or wasn't he doing?
Oh yeah, before practice. Yeah.
So he would see
a good trick. Yeah,
and I think the Oilers countered that by using different numbers on different they were playing it back at him. So I guess that's a little cloak and dagger stuff, but it has no bearing on, I think, the game or whatever. Really.
No, some of that stuff is just almost like a power move type of thing. Just prove like, hey, we were going to try to fool you and delay what you're reporting by 5 minutes until the players are actually on the ice and you see what they're skating around. Like football is different because you were alluding to it, Cass. I mean, a team could have a certain formation where they're only going to run one play out of that formation, right? So if the other team were to see that, they would know, okay, this is some trick play or something unusual, and they only use that formation out of it, so you don't want it being filmed. But I know, I mean, the CFL, and I assume in the NFL, you're like, if there are TV cameras there, you're only allowed a certain window to film practice, you know, and there'd be certain questions for the coach that would be off limits. You know, like you wouldn't ask about why are you running to the left side today? I mean, even something like, why would you ask that? You know, and in the CFL, they can close practice one day a week if they want to. But then the media can still come ask questions after. So if they're going to work on trick plays or whatever, short kicks.
Yeah.
You know, so I get that. There's more of a strategy with alignment and personnel and formations and in football that maybe you wouldn't have as much in other sports. But I can tell you, like in football, they are really, really paranoid. But again, maybe that, like, we're going to have Dave Jameson on our show, who worked for the Double E for a long time, and he has some stories about coaches being paranoid. Like, is that homeless guy a spy for the other team? We better go frisk him.
Yeah. Well,
you see it. Do you guys remember soccer, like football soccer Canada, like in the drones filming other teams in practices and people getting fired because it
was the women's team, right?
Canadian women's team.
It was a women's team. Yeah. So it's like that you know, I know there might be some paranoia, and it would be great to hear some of JMO's stories on that stuff. But like, there's the reality is that stuff happens. When you guys see that documentary on Netflix from the Michigan guy, like the sign stealing, like that sort of stuff, where it's like, you know, these are big businesses. And in football, like, knowing what's coming at you from a play standpoint and what the other team's going to do, because it's a chess match, is so essential. Because if you have the play to counter, you know, from a strategy defensive standpoint, like, or offensive standpoint, if you know what defense the other team's running, well, you know automatically what's going to be open. So I get the paranoia, because it's like there's been stuff that has happened and still happens, like where maybe the homeless guy was a spy, right? Like with a little camera, like maybe he he could have been. So I get the paranoia around it.
Well, what about, was it Altuve with the Astros?
Oh, well, that's a whole other level. Yeah. With filming and
thing,
was he wearing some vibrating thing on his chest or whatever? Yeah. Well, I mean, people do try to cheat.
Yeah.
Even at the highest level, whether we like it or not. But I guess my thing is, like, what's like, if Killam would have said on Monday, you know, hey, we're leaning toward Cody, or I got to make a decision at quarterback. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if then the riders are like, oh my God, I didn't even know they had Fajardo.
Yeah.
But obviously they're probably preparing for both situations.
I did have, and obviously I never played in the NBA, but again, coming back to the Glass Palace there with the visiting NBA teams. I forget the name of the coach for the Seattle Supersonics at the time. Because we would all come in and look at them, right? Because it was cool. We could watch. He booted us. Okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there was cops and everything there was no media. No one was there. But when the Bulls were in town, when LeJordan was there, it was just like we could all stand there and watch practice and stuff. We watched the Celtics, and actually it was a Jerry Sloan for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
He was it was great because I met him. I go, hey, Mr. Sloan, can you sign my hockey stick or whatever? And he signed and he was like, oh, so what are you guys? He was actually really inquisitive into what I was and hockey, and because he had no clue, I was starstruck that he was talking to me for that period of time with Stockton and Malone just standing there too.
That's cool though that he gave you that experience that you still remember.
It was unbelievable.
As opposed to like, don't watch our practice, kid.
Yeah. I never liked that coach. As the same one from Last Dance where Jordan, he said he went to dinner and he didn't acknowledge him, and so he had something to play for. That was the same coach, so I was happy.
Got a text here from Ross. Knobloch might be the worst interview/coach in Oilers history for telling anyone what's happening. It's pointless to listen to his post games. Hyman, broken arm, perfect example. They knew instantly he was done. Post game, he comes out and says, "No update. We'll know more tomorrow." Well, yeah, I think sometimes they do know the injury. I don't think all the time. I think sometimes when they say he was in treatment, I got to talk to the trainer. I think sometimes that's true, even though they might have an idea. But like Cass was saying, though, that's hockey culture, baby. Everybody's fine.
You really think Knobloch is a bad interviewer? I think. Do you not remember the previous coaches? They were, they were cryptic.
Hockey interviews in general aren't great. Like, and so you have, but you have the occasional ones, and it's like you just gravitate towards them because it's like you have ones that are really good. Like Ekholm, for example, is usually pretty good. Like a little more colorful, get a little bit more out of them, like a little bit more natural from an interview standpoint. And then you have ones where it's just like you just don't get anything ever, and it's just all the ums and ahs and huns and ahs and
right,
like just like every filler that you can have.
10 obviously in
myself.
Yeah, a lot of obviously.
Yeah. So it's I mean, he's not great. It's not like he's Tortorella. Like Tortorella is fun, right? You have some guys that are fun to listen because you just never know what actually is going to come out and what's actually going to happen. Knobloch is just kind of the same. I mean, it's cottage cheese, right? Like it's just you're not getting that much texture. It's going to be some nutritional content, but it's not exciting at all to eat when you're listening to the interviews, and that's okay. That's some coaches. That's the intentional mindset they have going into those things is to try to run with that. So it is what it is. It's just you want to talk about sport culture. That's part of the hockey culture is to be really boring in interviews.
Well, I don't know if hockey has an equivalent of football, like looking ahead at formations, or baseball stealing signs. I don't think hockey has an equivalent to that. Like
no,
it's not like oh, which coach on the bench is giving the power play formation by tapping the symbols, and it's not like you're defending the Oilers' power play. Well, I wonder where they're going to line Leon up today. Oh, man.
There's.
I wonder if Ovechkin's going to be on the other side of the power play. Yeah, like
can he one time it on his wing?
He's going to try to score 50 on his backhand this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you had Woodcroft and Knobloch. You talked to them both. Reed, how would you compare talking to those two coaches?
Well, I could throw in a few of them, really.
Yeah.
Tippett I found Tippett was either really bland or could really give you something good. I know from doing the post-game shows when they weren't doing well, a lot of people didn't like his, like he'd always say, we're chasing the game, and people would be like enough already. and Tip kind of had that gravelly voice where he didn't sound that interested all the time. But I remember once, and this is, I kind of took a chance knowing that it could go nowhere, and he gave like a beauty clip.
Oh, yeah.
Like we used it all day on Chad. Like I asked about playing back-to-backs. Because I think they might have been in Calgary or Vancouver the night before, and then it wasn't a road back-to-back. And he gave this great answer about when I played and the commercial flights and how tired they were, and you're cramped up. Like he really explained it and was basically like, screw these guys today. They should never complain about a back-to-back. Woodcroft was quite he could be quite wordy. So I liked talking to him. You didn't get a lot of one-on-one chances. I remember once I was the only reporter that showed up for a pregame availability for a 4:00 preseason game. And I was sitting and it was like a 10 a.m. thing. And I was like the only one there. And he was like, just come into my office and we'll do it. Just tape.
Oh, sweet.
I was like, what do you have? I was like 2 or 3 questions. He's like, fine.
Yeah.
But Woody, I also think, liked to hear himself talk
Okay.
too. But he was generally pretty good and would try to offer something. You know, I know when they didn't start that season well, he got a little irritated just at the group of, like, there was, I don't know if people will remember this or if it got caught on the YouTube feed. They lost the game in Minnesota and they were back the next day. And that was the game. There were 4 too many men penalties, 3 on the Oilers and 1 on Minnesota. And I went first and I said, like, you guys had 3 too many men penalties last night. Like, what's going on? And he's like, well, actually, Reed, there were 4 in the game. Okay, the other team took 1, and so obviously it was something they were looking to call.
Oh. And
then there were like this was the year led him getting fired.
Yeah.
And then when he left the podium, he muttered / not muttered, like said it to the Oilers media relations staff, but loud enough. He was like, "Wow, the knives are out today, eh?" But like with his back turned to us, which wasn't anybody's intention. So. But he was generally pretty good. And Knobloch doesn't show a lot of emotion. No. And you can kind of see it on Knobloch's face that if he does get a question that irritates him or he thinks might be stupid, you can almost see him take that breath and go, well, he's kind of trying to figure out a way to politely deflect it. Maybe once he's here longer or, he might, well, even with Rashog that one day, he had fun with him. He's like, well, luckily we had some hits today, Ryan. If you look at the stat sheet, and then he kind of laughed. But it's obvious. Like we're kind of going off on a different topic here because this isn't about secrecy or paranoia anymore. But it is kind of a weird environment. Like sometimes I think there's like 20 of us sitting in chairs like we're at a university lecture, passing this mic around to ask a hockey coach like one question. Yeah. Like there's more people here than there's the availability for the premier some days, for after an Oilers practice, which is I guess cool, but sometimes but they're very professional, they're very polished. They generally are careful. I don't really care too much, like, well, I don't care at all like what they think of me or my questions, and I kind of accept. You're hoping at least to get an intelligent, explanatory answer. Yeah, that offers something. I don't go there thinking like, oh, I hope Knobloch shows some personality today when he answers my question. I just know that's not. And same thing with the players. Like, I wouldn't go up to Cass's stall and be like, okay, I got to buddy up to Cass today. I'd be like, okay, I got to ask him like hopefully a simple. Not simple that I would think a player is stupid, Cass, but simple
that's what I heard.
Cass is such a simpleton. So you like hockey, Matt, but you need to give them something that they can process and answer without making their mind and mouth meander when they do start answering. I think.
Like Cass, did you like your relationship with the media? Was there a reporter that drove you a little nuts, or was there someone that like you liked actually asked you questions relative to more your impact of a game? Because it's always different from a goalie. It's like, why didn't you stop that one or whatever? That was a great save.
Yeah. Oh man, you're always going to have guys that you. And the thing is I don't think it's just individuals. It's kind of like as a team. Like there's guys in the media that kind of get under your skin, and that kind of rub a whole bunch of guys the wrong way. And then, but you still have to deal with them, and you have to find a way to make the relationship work. I was fine. I mean, it's why I'm doing this now. It's like I just kind of shrug most things off. I think the only one, and it's funny because he now does a lot with the NHL alumni, leads the NHL alumni, and we have a good relationship now. But Glenn Healy was, I think, the only one where I had like active conflict with. And it was because in the playoffs in Montreal in 2013, he basically was just like, I don't know why they're playing this guy against Montreal. And I was like, and we all knew it and we all heard it. And like my line mates at the time, they were just like, yeah, man, that's BS. Like, I can't believe he said that. And so like everybody was like, because he was in between the benches. too at that point, and like everyone on the team was ripping him, like skating by him, like just shredding him. And I was as well. I was like, yeah, thanks, Glenn. Yeah, you jerk. And then, I mean, again, now, and he is an awesome guy that cares about people and cares about NHL alumni and does a great job running the organization. But he was the only one with active conflict. I mean, Bruce Garrett in Ottawa, there were some guys that just like that he bugged a little bit. Again, I didn't have an issue, but I didn't have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis. That's the thing. I think where guys start to get frustrated is like where it's, they're having to deal with them all the time. Your big name guys that are getting interviewed frequently. Cause for me, it's like, I'm getting interviewed if something weird happened last night. Aside from that, they kind of leave me alone, right? Like I don't have to deal with anything. So it was never, I'm like, you want to talk to me? Yeah, please come talk to me. Ask any questions. I don't care. I'll talk about anything. And then you got like Jason Spezza or Carlson, where it's like they're getting asked the same thing frequently because we were losing as a team and not playing very well. So they start to get frustrated with it. Mike Russo in Minnesota was another one where it's like he's always around, and I always got along well with him, never had an issue with him. But some guys were just like, man, the little guy, he wrote this, said this, did this, and they take it way too personally. But here's the thing, and maybe you can both comment on this. So as you said, Reed, like it's crazy that you think about how many reporters are there on a day-to-day basis asking questions compared to like politics and things that really truly matter in our lives. Engager's the same thing. It took, I think, until after my career. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this to really realize that it's an entertainment business and to view it as being like, well, no, the media is part of this entertainment business and it is a tool. It is a tool. And so it's like, you don't want to be too boring because it's is a player. You don't want to be too boring as an organization. Like you want, whether good press or bad press, is like you want them talking and you want people reading and you want people commenting and you want people either thrilled about an article or just losing it at an article because you want them to be engaged. And it just took me until after to really realize that there's just such a business side of it. And even as being an athlete of going through those interviews where it's like, man, the more colorful guys now, the better. And I look at it and I'm like, I want guys to be more colorful because I think it's better for the game. It's better for their careers. It's now maybe they disagree. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Like Gager, for you, like, what was the point when you realized like, hey, the media is a tool in an entertainment business as an athlete, or did you not, I guess, figure that out until after your career? Yeah,
it definitely not until after. And you think about the times that you did do interviews and go, gosh, why wouldn't I just be normal, essentially, and just say what I felt? Not that I was going to, I'd be front pages or anything like that, but I gave probably the worst interviews ever. And not that I got interviewed a lot, but I just tried to make it as clean cut and get it deep, make the first save, give the team a chance to win, like every single cliche I could actually think of, instead of I think what people want, or what I perceive what people want from these interviews, is that glimpse behind the curtain a little bit. And I sometimes I think a proper question is needed in those cases too. But when you can take personal experiences in certain situations during a sporting event, whether it's hockey, football, what happened here? And if a guy can really go in deep of what transpired, I think that's it's better than a lazy answer, just saying, yeah, we just didn't have our best stuff tonight, right? So it definitely wasn't until after, Cass. I'm like you. I wish I could have been a little bit. I could have done more to my my interactions with media was. That's for sure.
Hire it or fire it, presented by GS Construction. Hiring now. Become a part of the great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their pages on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. I'll hire what you guys are saying and what Gager just said, and I want to get to the Hockey Canada topic here, but I remember Mark Letestu told me once that he realized that being good in interviews and giving intelligent answers was another way to get noticed.
Yeah.
You know, like that sounds weird. Like, of course you got to play, but maybe you sounding intelligent, some other GM hears that when your next contract is up and they're looking for a play, like that's how competitive, especially for a guy like Mark, who everybody knows that I know him and his story from the AJHL to the NHL, and now he's coaching in the American Hockey League. Any little thing, and he said, like, somebody told him along the way is you can't control the questions, but you can control the answers. So he's like, if I get asked about the power play and I think the PK is the story of our team, I'll just start talking about the PK. And if I give an intelligent answer, the quote and the clip will get used. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. All right. Look, it's an ongoing story here today. Eric Macramella, who's a weekly guest on the Nielsen Show, is a great source for this. The legal stuff, I completely defer to people who know way more. This is with the World Junior sexual assault case. So as expected, I'm reading off Eric's Twitter from earlier today. As expected, the judge did not find evidence of EM to be credible or reliable. The Crown failed to meet its burden. He says the players will walk. Players were presumed innocent, and Crown had to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. He says the Crown will have 30 days to appeal. He then wrote, unlikely the Crown would succeed on an appeal. And then another tweet from Eric, Carter Hart will play in the NHL. I have no doubt at all he will be acquitted, which sets the stage for a return. I mean, look, this is a dicey one because there are legal things to talk about, and you never want to get that wrong as a broadcaster, but that's what Eric is saying. And then, of course, there's the whole morality to this. And I realize there's going to be a lot of opinions out there from different people. And I know we're going to be talking about this on our shows in the afternoon as well. But I'll ask you guys from this perspective. And look, there are players, there are people in pro sports who have a checkered past or a criminal past. Craig McTavish is an example with Edmonton. He was in jail for a year for vehicular homicide. I don't think it's necessary to bring it up every day, but it's part of his past. And he got to play in the NHL and be a coach and GM. From a player's, this is a tough one because the accusation is a very harsh accusation, even if they are found not guilty in court. Would it be difficult to bring one of these players into an NHL dressing room and be accepted by their teammates, or would the teammates be like, okay, whatever, we just need them to play hockey?
Yeah, I think though you're just going to have some people not okay with it, but understand it. And you'll probably have some people that are really upset about it. You mentioned this in the bullpen. Does a GM go to the players first and say, hey, we're thinking about bringing this guy in. How do you guys feel about this? I think would be important because you don't win with a split dressing room. I think that's going to have to be the conversation.
Yeah. I think you'd have a lot less issues in the room than you would from a fan base standpoint. And in some ways, rightfully so, right? Like where there's the jury of public opinion, regardless of guilt or not guilt. And it certainly looks like they will be acquitted. As you mentioned, Reed, you still have the court of public opinion that has heavy sway on what you're doing, because those are the people that are buying the tickets. Those are the people that are buying the merchandise. Those are the people that are buying the jerseys and watching shows like ours, that are watching on TV, that are tuning in and paying attention. Like those are the people. And there's going to be opinions very strongly, some one way, some the other way, that will be made. And so for me, the organization standpoint, you're not calling the guys in the locker room necessarily if you're a GM to see how they're going to feel about it. You're calling, well, maybe you are, or you probably would, but more so on the, hey, do you think it's okay? Because this is going to create a lot of stuff that we're going to have to deal with and talk about and question. We just talked about interviews You know,
Yeah.
in answering questions like that, like those are the questions that are going to and should get asked, by the media and by the public. And, as an organization, you're going to have to sort through that. Yeah, I mean, it could be like bringing in a teammate that has some different, and you mentioned like McTavish, that has some different thing that went on, right? Like they could have something completely different. Like let's say they had some kind of substance issue that became public, and then you're looking at bringing them in and you're like, okay, well, how does that affect as a dressing room? And you're trying to evaluate a little bit. And I know it's very different. And, but at the same time, there's similarities in bringing someone in that has baggage, even if they're acquitted, again, if they have baggage, and bringing them into a room and then trying to navigate how that's going to affect everyone emotionally and the pressures on the team in an already high pressure sport. So it's going to be an interesting situation. My first thought for some of those guys, if they do or are able to find an NHL contract, is the likelihood of it being in Canada, I would say, is a lot less than the likelihood of them signing a contract somewhere in the States, where it hasn't been as much of a thing, right? Like, because we hear about it and been hearing about it for a long time. And again, rightfully so here in Canada, but in the States, it's like, it's a byline. This hasn't been something that's been all over the front page of the news frequently ever since the trial started. Like, it was there once or twice. I'm sure it'll be there again today afterwards. And then it's just kind of fade. And so for some of those markets that aren't primarily hockey markets, I could see one of those organizations maybe moving the direction of looking at bringing on one of those players if they do all indeed get acquitted. But it's a big thing, guys. As you said, Reed, there's a huge morality question too. Like, there's the legal side of it, but then there's the moral side of it as well. Just because it isn't something that was criminal or isn't something that you are going to get convicted of doesn't mean that there isn't a morality or a negative morality, or you weren't a horrible I don't want to say horrible person, but you didn't make a horrible mistake and do something horrible to another person. So it's a messy big thing.
And just in the last few minutes, Hart and Formanton found not guilty, so it looks like they're going through the Cal Foot not guilty. So I assume that they're doing the charges one by one. I'm just looking on Twitter and hearing some of the guys talk about in the bullpen. Yeah, a lot of great comments in the nasty chat, everybody. I'm not going to read all of them, but we're certainly getting the diversity of opinion from everything. Like, well, if they're not guilty, who cares about anything? As opposed to like, well, public opinion, and it's some people are going to say this is still a stain on them no matter what. The other end is people are going to say not guilty is not guilty. Forget about it. Again, we're not going to. The three of us aren't going to judge your reaction. You're entitled to reaction, but I think that's evidence of why it's going to be a touchy situation. Cass, you're the best. Thanks for checking in, and thanks for you did a great job freezing for several minutes at a time. You're very strong. Next time, the next show, you're going to be the show will be from the new studio on Tuesday.
It'll be great.
Gager, what do you guys have coming up?
No idea. We're
just going to wing it.
We're gonna. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
I know that we wanted to touch on Hulk Hogan, obviously. Let's talk about Elks. Fajardo starting on Friday. Dustin Nielsen.
Oh, good guy.
Good guy. He owns the place. He's going to join us at 120. Inside the numbers is going to be interesting. Face of the franchise is what we're doing there. And then, around 2:40, we'll get ready for the big show with Reed and Jay.
Jay and I are going to rank Elks starting quarterbacks of the past 25 years.
Ooh, nice.
We narrowed the list down to 11 that played the most. And Dave Jamieson, who worked for the Double E for a long time, is going to have insider stories of paranoid coaches. On behalf of Cass and Gager, I'm Reed. Have a great afternoon. Next show's coming up at 1.